of the Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. What a terrific, thankful Thursday's edition of Talk Today as we invite you to be a part of it. Hey, sometimes, you got to be like Muhammad Ali and float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. And sometimes you got to be like Susan, just listen to the music and let it ride. Well, give us a shout. I invited a friend to join me. If his schedule opens up and he walks through the door, we're going to have some very meaningful dialogue. If he doesn't, well, the show continues. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village. Convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for giving us a shout at 949-8037, 949-8037. Or why don't you, allow us with our kind partnership with Flow to pick up the tab as you dial and share your thoughts. Hit the Flow for 1-800. What is it, Susan? 1-800-534-8255. It's the Flow toll-free line. Or you can shout us on 925-3261 and share your thoughts with us on our WhatsApp. Now, that's just for, a voice note, or when you type it up and send it through, please, if you call that number and we don't answer because we're on air, well, probably because we just can't answer it. Now, 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp, 925-3261. And I was looking at an email. Strangely enough, right, there are a lot of these things that come through, and for many of us, we don't always get a chance to look at them in a timely manner. Then there are other times and other things where we see so much stuff that we probably ignore that thing which is so obvious and evident. But at the end of the day, it's there. We don't pay, much attention. Well, there's much to sort of look at these days and listen to as people share. For some, they talk about propaganda, and others is just a reference to things that are transpiring. Now, thankfully, there are many individuals who are not just very pensive and productive. They don't want to spend much thought and prayer and looking at things constructively. They're genuinely, sincerely committed to doing great things for the greater good. And for those of you who fall in that category, and thankfully there are many, well, thank you for being such a wonderful, endearing people, and for sharing your thoughts with me. Well, here's something I want to reference as I look at this comment from one of our listeners. It says, "Good day, sir." It says, "As we anticipate the reopening of our borders, there is an undeniable level of concern in the community. One, we know with the Delta variant, COVID is more contagious than it was last year. Two, we know once we open borders, we will have community spread of the Delta variant in Cayman. Three, we know the vaccine reduces the death rate, but does not stop us from contracting or spreading COVID. With these facts in mind, the public has a right to be very concerned. To make matters worse, the census is scheduled to coincide with the reopening. So people will go house to house and spend 20 minutes with each person completing several questions. There are no signs to warn who is in quarantine. This is a perfect recipe for a super spreader event. So what outcomes should we consider? From October the 14th, we can predict a reduction in locals dining in restaurants, taking staycations, going to the cinema, or any other discretionary activities in an effort to shield from exposure to COVID. Lockdown 2.0 may not be like our first lockdown. 1. Banks and utility companies may not offer the same payment deferrals. 2. Government finances do not have the same surplus as before. 3. Many people have depleted much of their pensions. 4. Many have used up their savings surviving the last lockdown. And 5. Employers may not continue salary payments during lockdown, making more people reliant on NAU and Meals on Wheels. Before proceeding with reopening, we implore our government to weigh what we stand to gain and what we will lose by the choices they make, as it could literally mean life or death for some. Some solutions may include changing the date of the census, maintaining a shorter quarantine, say 2 days for example, or postponing the reopening altogether, considering the Delta variant is surging in every country that has reopened. Well, I certainly appreciate this person taking such valuable time and sharing those comments. Now, I'm happy to reread it or any portion thereof if you wish repetition. But what do you think? The person gave it some considered thought and shares an opinion, a perspective that perhaps the census could be brought forward earlier. Perhaps as we look at the reopening, maybe we still maintain a period of isolation, quarantine, as the word is that you choose. Maybe we look at it from a perspective that people may consider the impact that it could have. Now, what is interesting, and it's unfortunate, I think, that many of us get labeled and maligned just because we think, or we try to think, or we ask questions, or we seek sometimes answers, seek to gain a semblance of knowledge. The little sort of intro that we put, there are more questions than answers. Well, is that really true? Or are there just really not enough people asking the questions? So there are, in fact, more and more. But what about people who are unwilling to provide any semblance of an answer? And when it is, we don't listen because we don't believe or have respect for, or a sense of credibility in the source that's providing the answer. Or maybe just the answer is just that, a non-answer. Many people talk and really little is being said or shared, whether it's in parables or whether it is in just the manner in which they are able to, what we say, diplomatically address something. But it is us who are not actively engaged listeners, not demanding that we get a forthright answer. Take, for instance, an exchange between two people. Let's say use maybe two scenarios. A person is a witness in a case and is being, what does we use the word, cross-examined, but is being questioned. Not just the police interrogation, but maybe it is a scenario where a journalist interviewing someone and, this is a hard-hitting question. How many of us are willing to observe that and recognize that that is necessary, or would be willing to step in and defend the process or defend the person who is maybe, in our minds, being unfairly, and what's the word we use, grilled? Well, your thoughts. 949-8037. Toll free with the compliments of Flow, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261. Now, with that in mind, the amount of questions that people are asking, the seemingly unwillingness to provide or to be provided with answers. The last comment in the message we read says, lockdown 2.0. Well, have we, as we move about our communities, been asking ourselves, observing, things as we see it transpiring, say for instance, in our supermarkets and the places we buy our goods, that maybe certain things are no longer on the shelves and wondering why. As we talk amongst friends and family, colleagues, co-workers, and just members of our society, we know that there can be this notion of a self-fulfilling prophecy. We believe something to happen, we take steps, and lo and behold, we bring it about. So for instance, if toilet paper, cleaning supplies, and other goods are not on the shelves for the extended period of time as they were normally, so what is it they say? Flying off the shelves? Well, if they're disappearing really fast, is that people being, again, almost in a sense of panic? Are they being proactive? Or is this just another one of those instances where people, as part of their preparation, may decide that this is, what would be a good thing? Well, we're told that, if we become fearful and stressed, then there are all sorts of things that go on in our bodies, and as a result of that, it can suppress our immune system. It can make us unwell and have, ill consequences for our health. But it doesn't mean that we don't become fearful and stressed. When we are afraid, then we become more susceptible to perhaps not only illnesses, but suggestions and control. How do we avoid that? For some of us, it's to bury our heads in the sand. For others, it's to have more information, timely, accurate information from credible sources. And that has to be, maybe for a child, it's from the parent. Maybe from the adult, it's from someone that is trusted. Now, do we have that? Many would question that we don't seemingly, as societies, not just here in other ways, don't seem to have that same level of trust in, quote unquote, the authorities, whether that is the media that's supposed to be objective and impartial, whether that is the political pundits that's supposed to, provide that level of information, or whether that is the head of some organization, whether it's governmental or not. It could be ecclesiastical, even among our churches and civic organizations. Many of us, when asked, would honestly respond that we don't have the same level of trust and confidence in the institutions that we once had, or that what was perhaps the norm a decade or a century earlier, for different reasons. So where does that leave us today? Well, we'll take a short break. When we come back, I invite you to call and share your thoughts with us. And as we do so, again, in a civil, responsible, respectful manner, how do we move forward to not only protect ourselves in every which way, to ensure that we move about our communities in a very, very, very loving, kind, considerate manner, ensuring that as we drive our streets that we are careful, cautious, and very cognizant of other users as we go about, our daily activities, buying the goods that we would buy, that we are not panicking. And I don't think that there is a need for us to panic. If you'll forgive me for saying that I think we have not only in the presence and the person of the Honorable Premier, his cabinet, and all of the elected members, that we have some stalwarts, some very, very good people who are looking out for the best interest. But we also have many within our community that can step up, and as we step forward, we can work together, being prepared to offer up a comment, even if it's contrary to what may be seen as the narrative. Doesn't mean that it has to be wrong, and certainly doesn't have to be presented in an offensive way. But it means that if we don't speak, we probably will never be heard. If we don't do something, maybe nothing will get done. So let's pause and take a short break. When we come back, you share your thoughts with us. 949-8037. Our Flow has a toll-free line. We invite you to use that as well. 1-800-534-8255. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Census 2021. Came on, get ready. Census starting 10th of October 2021. Census West Bay, you ready? Census East End, we coming. Census everyone will be counted. Census 2021. Census but in town, are you ready? Census Georgetown, we coming. Census your info will be secret. Northside, get ready. Census Brackers will be counted. Census Little Cayman, we coming. Census people, get ready. Census 2021. Census todos se cuentan. Census Latinos serán contados. Filipinos Makanda. 2021. Census Papa, are you ready? Census Mama will be counted. Children and toddlers. Census 2021. Census information is secret. Census 2021. Census starting October 10th. 2021. Census 2021 census, census, census.
2021 Census. Everyone counts.
Do you have plans to travel to the UK? You must provide a letter of certification from Public Health and your vaccination certificate issued in the Cayman Islands if traveling to the UK via the Bahamas, the United States, Canada, Jamaica, or any other Amber List country. If you are traveling directly to the UK from Cayman, no letter of certification is necessary. Letters of certification may be requested by emailing vaccinecertification@hsa.ky. Travelers must attach a copy of their vaccination card as a screenshot attached to their email request. All requests will take 3 business days to process, and letters will only be issued within 3 weeks of a person's date of travel. Letters of certification are only needed if traveling to the UK via any Amber List country. Travelers to the UK coming directly from the Cayman Islands do not require a letter of certification.
When you're on the go, let the Island Supermarket shop for you.
To start, head to fosters.ky/go.
Then shop all of your favorite products online, from produce and seafood to grocery and frozen, all picked by our team of shoppers ready to go.
Choose next day curbside pickup from Foster's Camana Bay or delivery island-wide.
To get your order started, visit fosters.ky/go.
This is Groceries on the Go.
And we are Foster's Go. Shop online anytime.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And it is some open line as we invite you to call and share your thoughts with us. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. And for me, it is that if we're going to really be responsible, engaged citizens, and especially voters, but citizens within the country generally, that we should, and hopefully this does not offend you, but pray for those in a position of authority, that they would have the wisdom, that they would have the humility and the presence of mind to do the right thing, health and the like. And they'd always do what is best. And as we, who are praying for them, will also pray for something similar, and then join them in making it better. All hands on deck certainly, makes things perhaps better. May not necessarily be any easier in a sense, because you have to do some of the physical lifting, but I'm glad to see that we have such a wonderful people, whether it's parliamentary secretaries, whether elected in the cabinet and otherwise. And I think we can see within the civil service, especially those that are front and center, the public-facing members of the service who provide, that face-to-face, immediate contact and deliver that high-quality service. Really, really proud to see that level of competence, the commitment to country, that sense of national pride, and it also, I think, resonates in the wider community as well. That's what makes, a healthy society. Now, in reference to our comment earlier where we're seeing for some, maybe they're just very, very cautious, maybe they're being preemptive, maybe they're just one of those people that they plan. But as people are increasingly traveling, not necessarily for vacation, and I think that is probably the challenge that we're having, people still feeling a sense of great restriction on their movements. But as some have shared, and I can use this particular comment as an example, because here's another very, very well, meaning, wonderfully gifted individual that is not only informed and engaged, but is very much willing to always do the very, give the very sort of best in every circumstance to make things as best as possible. And referencing that, when we look at the U.S. in particular, and having been there, in recent times, when we over there going into the various stores and in the various cities, you can see that their shelves, there are a lot less, available goods on the shelves. So more and more of the supplies are being limited. Even the larger sort of chains that we're used to, those mega stores as they were, they have less, available, less sort of variety, and whether that's for food or whether that is the other goods that we will buy. Now we know that for some, they'll follow and recognize that there's an issue with supply getting into the needed inventory, and when we have that sort of limited supply and the same level of demand as people are still needing those goods, whether it's the household and cleaning supplies, whether it's the other items that we use in our homes. Well, if you don't have it, then how do we get it? Well, the question is, how many of us have made adjustments in our lifestyles when it comes to putting away some for a rainy day? Not just money, but save. I reference my uncle, who always had the notion that before hurricane season would start, he would go to the shop and he would buy an extra can of this or a little bit of extra pack of that. And when the official started the hurricane season, he didn't have a lot of stuff to have to get. If there were ever an impending storm, he didn't have to rush out and buy. And like people of his generation, they made provision, they were prepared. And as the storm was leading up, whether they got the sufficient notice or whether it was one of those ones that made up relatively closer and moved much faster and was upon us much earlier than anticipated or expected, they could spend time in the yard ensuring that things that could potentially act as projectiles and remove all the debris. they could spend time getting the boats secure. Now, back then, there were much, much more available mangroves and undeveloped areas that you could put your boat and have it properly secured than there is now. So, as things change, how are we in responding to those changes, and are we able to help to guide those changes? And as we navigate what lies ahead, what are we doing to sort of help each other? Well, share with me what you think. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261 and share your thoughts with us as we invite you to be a part of our discussion. Now, let's say, as a lady presented to us earlier, she said, what if, as we move forward, and just use the Cayman Islands since this is where we are now, but if we were like many who may, for medical reasons, education, or some other, very urgent and accepted matter, had to be absent from our shores. But let's say we find ourselves in a jurisdiction. So let's use Cayman as an example. That as a result of decisions made by the government in response to perhaps, some unfolding event, maybe it's a communicable disease, let's say like COVID, and we find ourselves where the decision is taken to, again, impose a heightened level of restrictions on movements. I challenge to use the word lockdown because it's become such a easy part of our parlance now, but the fact that's what they did in prisons, when they would restrict all the prisoners to their cells. So we should be mindful, as our psychiatrists and psychologists have reminded us of the importance of words and how they can easily, create significant, meaning in the minds of people and impact them. But let's say that happens as a result. So we end up in lockdown 2.0. What would that look like? Or how would we respond? Now, thankfully, we live in a very civilized society where we've seen it in preparation for hurricanes and our response in the aftermath. We've seen it when there's an appeal for something that the community needs to do to help out because something has happened in the community. And not just to help within our own shores, but other parts of the world where we can offer up some level of assistance. Now, how do you think that will play out? The writer earlier referenced the notion that maybe financially businesses, even if they wanted to, may be unable to continue paying. A number of employers have shared with me that not because they are wealthy, but because they thought it was a sense of humanity, that they paid their workers full salary. Some paid almost a full, but they made sure that they had something, even though there was no money coming in, they still made the payroll. Our governments have committed to doing that, but that comes at a significant cost. At some point, we may see taxes increase, we may see borrowings, increase, we may see new taxes come online. A number of you over the years have said, well, maybe it's time that we look at some form of direct taxation. As long as it doesn't create some sort of disincentive to productivity, as long as it doesn't lead to people becoming very creative in finding loopholes, as we use those two words carefully, in navigating the tax code to, what is it they say, to mitigate, not to evade, but to reduce, to avoid having to pay certain taxes and certain amounts legally. Now, we also would want a government to spend those tax dollars in the most efficient, effective way, and prioritizing the services that are most important. Now, that may be the ideal world, but why can't it not be the one in which we ensure is the standard that we excel to? Well, thankfully, we've had that level of competence and confidence in our elected officials and even the appointed ones. So the technical efficiency is there, the competence is there, the level of integrity and ethics is there. So we're well positioned to ensure that will be the outcome. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. or WhatsApp 925-3261 and share your thoughts with us relative to what is happening. We see schools are reopening, and again, whether it is the school itself or the education ministry or department, or whether it's the parents that are involved in the communities, we should be ever more cognizant and cautious of not just the pedestrian crosses, but the areas in and near our schools, as the children very joyfully move about, trying to get maybe after school to a space, or anxiously playing with their friends, even waiting for the bus or for their parents to collect them. And let us be careful that we don't create any sense of mishap and accidentally cause some injury to someone. Well, let's pause and take a short break, and when we come back, more Talk Today.
Freedom, Cayman Rack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72% over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s, and today we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
Save every day with FedEx. Get 40% off when you ship using FedEx International Priority and an additional 5% off on your next shipment. Visit us. Visit FedEx.com keyword Caribbean discount to learn more.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Afternoon, dude.
Hey, good to hear from you, man. How are you today?
Oh, home putting up in the heat, but still alive.
Well, it could be worse, It could be worse.
I'm saying today, but I grew up in West Bay in the 60s, so it don't bother me too much. I used to it.
So we say hot in West Bay?
We had good central air and all the windows were open all night and all day.
Yeah.
But, I'm hearing you talking about this opening up business here with October the 14th, and I actually call came on yesterday about leaving on 15th because I have an appointment. I'm at a dental appointment again. And the girl said, we'll just call back after September the 9th. And said, because the flight's not directly scheduled something yet, but call back September the 9th. And the flights are going back to regular prices. Blah, blah, blah. But I said, it's true, but like what you were just saying and talking about, in my view and anybody's within a common sense view, if we open up without everybody here, at least living here, be vaccine and people coming in, there's no doubt in my mind that Delta variant is going to spread here. That's no doubt in my mind at all. That's what's going to happen, And we'll probably be looking at another lockdown again. But I had a prayer about it. And I said, good Lord, this is everything in your hands. So if the government want to make a decision, try it. Let's try it, and pray about it and say, look, if it works, it works. If it don't work, we just have a lockdown and go back to the regular way of living again.
Yeah.
It's no doubt in my mind that can easily happen. I got 2 more people get the vaccine last week, but I got some other people talking about this. They just won't take it,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think when you first shared your concerns, you were a bit hesitant, and then you say you had to travel and you decide to take it. So you feel better about your decision now?
Well, because I had trouble and I feel safe with people coming in with it. But at the same time, they're talking about a booster now in 12 months again now. When they start with more vaccines, then I'm getting like, oh. I don't think I won't be bombarded with more vaccines. Because I will tell you that the 2 vaccines that I took, it reacted on me very, very bad the first time and the last time.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
I guess my body I exercise and use a lot of stuff for keep my immune system built. From drinking salt water in the morning to coconut water. And I keep my body up with the immune system using natural things, and my body like it didn't want it, you know. But I took it anyway. But I didn't message there, but I want to tell I can say this. Basically what's going on is the Bible fulfilling. Nobody not going to stop that. They can stop it. Well, they're not going to stop it, but they can try to find Mount Zion. But another thing I want to say to the rich, I would say, spread your wealth. To the poor, keep the faith. So have a good day to me.
Thanks, man. Thank you, Joe.
Right,
be safe. All right, let's take this other caller. Listen, bring it back if you want to be a part of it. And I always say, if you don't speak and share your thoughts, then that may be another great opinion and view that goes unheard and shared. And if you want to test whether we live in a place that seemingly is conducive to such dialogue, well, we've got to be willing to stand in the gap and step up and share our thoughts. Thankfully, we live in not only a very beautiful place from this physical appearance, but also wonderful people from all sorts that inhabit and coexist in a not only a very peaceful way, they're not only amenable, but they're willing. Through our actions and endeavors, we can see a sense of charity, a sense of commitment. And that's what makes this place, perhaps unlike many. And if we continue, all of us, to work hand in glove, working together, we'll continue to make it that much better. But it doesn't come without effort, and that exerted effort reaps great reward. So 949-8037, toll free at 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261. This is a message that came across last evening as we had already ended the program, and the listeners still ask, to share. I think it's important that we be as mindful of others, so that we can, at the very least, share views from all who wish to have their views sent. And the message references a caller who was, speaking about, taking medication. And as the caller, put forward that perspective, this message came in and said, with regard to the lady on the phone, who said, we can take a pill for headaches and the like. Yes, we do, but we take it with some level of confirmation and assurance that it works and that it's not much of a threat to her health. But on the other hand, this vaccine has been, in the words of this listener, pushed on the people without significance and details of the side effects. And we ought to remember that a true vaccine can take much longer, to be authorized for use in humans. And maybe that's part of the challenge that people are having, and that as a media, are we relaying information as objectively, impartially, timely, and accurately as possible? Is that information is coming out, without conflict and contradiction? We've seen, as some have equally shared, the WHO has, made statements and then revisited those statements, sometimes or within the day or within the week. We're human, and we're prone to missteps, as we're reminded. We're seeing, for instance, in the U.S., their FDA, which is only in the U.S., it has, perhaps great influence here and other places, but, we fall under the U.K., so that's not the ultimate authority in this jurisdiction. But how many things have had to recall, even after it's been, FDA approved, whether for a short time or whether for a long time. So things change. More knowledge and information come to light as a result of people's experiences as continued research unfolds. So with everything, I'm sure that we know certain things now that are better than they were before, again, because of the research, the monitoring, the usage informs us from the way we may prepare certain meals. Not only do they seem to become more efficient, but maybe how we build our homes. Not only we want them to be safer and stronger, but perhaps more cost effective, without compromising the quality, the structural integrity, the enjoyment of the space, and the safety of the space. We look, for instance, as we come to an air-conditioned space where inside, what there was it that we were told once, seal the envelope. Make sure all of the openings around windows and doors are such that, the air that you've cooled and conditioned inside isn't, so easily escaping. But that in itself created problems because of the, air inside just circulating. So fresh air exchanges have been introduced, but then we further appreciate that the materials, from the carpets to all the other things, the paints and the fabrics inside equally, create, what they call, VOCs, volatile organic compounds, that are released in these things into that space, whether it's the office or the home or other spaces, creating ill effects on our health. So they develop products now that are not as dangerous. Are they still? Maybe. Are they as bad? Presumably not. But go back to the way we lived once. Well, it wasn't air conditioned, but the windows were open. We went outside and got the fresh air. And there are many now who will retreat at night to a nice, cool, comfortable place. But, they spend their days outside as much as possible. Maybe that reprieve in the evening, of the cool of the evening as opposed to the heat of the day, is what they feel is a just reward. It just may be. Anyway, 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261 and share your thoughts with us. A couple of points relative to the reopening that if you wish to share, well, we can go ahead and do that as we hopefully be able to be joined shortly. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman,
the voice,
the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
In Finance Committee, members of Parliament approved $58.1 million in additional funds for the government this year. Nearly half of that went towards COVID-19 response and recovery expenditure. Approval was also granted for $12.9 million for Tropical Storm Grace-related adverse impacts to the Cayman Islands. Hugely popular U.S. podcast host Joe Rogan has announced he has COVID months after he caused controversy by suggesting young, healthy people didn't need to get the coronavirus vaccine. Rogan told his 13.1 million Instagram followers he was recovering but would have to postpone his next show. The podcast was acquired by Spotify last year for more than $100 million. In April, he faced backlash over his vaccine comments. He later clarified, quote, "I'm not an anti-vax person." And a branch of McDonald's in Oregon is calling on 14 and 15-year-olds to apply for jobs at the restaurant amid a shortage of fast food workers. The Biddle Road franchise in Medford put a banner outside its shop 2 weeks ago urging younger workers to apply. It comes as fast food and other outlets across the U.S. struggle to fill vacancies despite restrictions easing. Those are your headlines. I'm Kersley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman,
the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261, and share your thoughts with us as we invite you to be a part of our discussion. And when we were having some interesting dialogue, just listening and having people sort of respond on their thoughts. Many, I think, not only have been commendable of the Honorable Premier, the government in general, but I've said, what is it that we as a community can do and should be doing? A suggestion was made, well, it would seem that, the Honorable Minister for Tourism, in trying to incentivize people to get back to work, get out, may have, made a comment, a misstep, as the Honorable Premier terms it, because we're human and we're prone to sometimes becoming excited and hopefully say and do things to bring people along, and not always is it construed in the manner in which it was intended. But someone suggested, could we not, as we look at could we not maybe leverage our Cayman Airways in partnership with, one of the other carriers, American Airlines, for instance, given this hub, and as the flights come to that particular place, then the last leg of the journey from there to Cayman is Cayman Airways only. And perhaps in exchange for, the stipend, whether a portion of it or all of it, we use that money to help to subsidize a period of quarantine. The hotel properties are, have a higher level of occupancy. They provide this facility at cost. While you're there, you're subjected to having to, buy and eat and sort of be restricted to the property. That in itself creates more commerce. We're keeping the money in the economy, and the workers are employed. All right. We're going to go to our phones and invite all of our callers to share a thought with us as well. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp. Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
Hey, good afternoon, man. How are you?
I don't want to say Dwayne. I say Mr. Sterling, sir.
I have a friend, sure reminds me often that there's a level of deference, man, and I certainly always endeavor to be as respectful to you and to all of us likewise. So thank you, sir, and thanks for calling and sharing your thoughts with us.
Yes, sir. I have one thing that I want to speak about, though, which is what I learned about specifically in the year 2002.
2002?
No, 2002.
Right.
Regarding religious rights. Yeah, that sort of thing, So I made vows. Yeah. And I think we should be enlightened here about the religious rights and freedoms that we actually have, I believe. Under European law, British law, something like that. Hello?
Yeah, the European Convention of Human Rights. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All of my papers disappeared, but anyway.
All right.
Yeah. So I think we should try to probably focus on that sort of stuff.
Right.
And because we don't know what other opposition we might face in the future. We are always having to face all sorts of stuff. We're just a small few islands, so we don't know what oppositions will be or problems will be coming our way. So what do? We can't just take a telescope and look into the future, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I think, well, they say they got prophets and all that too, so we need to hear. They say the false prophet and the true prophet, so we want to hear about all of these things, future events, and see who can be most believable, I think.
Well, credibility sometimes stems from either our perception of the person or the person's presentation of self. And for me, it's to be prayerfully discerning. So, hey, thanks very much for sharing, man. Always feel, invited to call as you wish. All right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Blessings to you. Blessings to you. Okay. Let's take the other call. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Mr. Sterling.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you today?
Good. What's on the menu?
Well, on the table today, I was hoping to have a good company of a friend who joins me and shares a perspective. But for lunch, Susan and I were trying to figure out, can we get this chukunk or turtle? But neither one seemed to be materializing.
Oh, today's Thursday. Shouldn't be a problem. That's pretty easy to get.
Fish?
Easy to get too. All three of them is easy to get. Today's a Thursday. That's a weekend starting menu. Turtle and conch and fish.
Yeah.
But I hope somebody hears you and bring you something. Okay?
No. Thanks. I certainly appreciate that gesture, but I hope people don't say, "Boy, look at that, he's shooting around."
Cayman style. Cayman style. You can't be nice these days, my dear. Like everybody wants something.
Well,
that's not nice to be like that.
If you would allow me, and I won't. I don't think that they want to be publicly mean, but I've had some wonderful, if it's okay, gentle ladies share from their kitchen, some cassava cake, especially of recent, and just not just because it was very tasty, but the gesture, the effort to bake and to think of you and share it with you, that is amazing. I also had, a nice tasting of some stew conch. I like how people are creative and willing to take license sometimes. And food is that thing to be experimented, is to be shared. And that's probably one of the best experiences I've had, and probably will live to regret if I never get to again. So it is a recognition that life sometimes you don't avail yourself of the happiness that is offered because you're so constrained.
Yeah. Well, we have very few dishes left, and they not in none of the, I don't know, in the hotels and so forth. And I think heard one of the government people was talking about, cooking up some Cayman dishes and so forth. And it would be nice that we could get one dish in each hotel restaurant.
But isn't that unfortunate that we, and maybe it's just me, right? But do we not travel, at least I do, to places not just to see the sights and the people, but to engage in the food?
That's right, and we don't have that here.
Well, we have
we don't have it at degrees. We have like Levine's Kitchen, and a lot of people can't make it to Levine's Kitchen, especially they want to come in for 2-3 days, and she's a weekend, something, and and a couple of other local restaurants, and some of these people can't even get to them.
Yeah, Amelia's right down the road. I mean, we do have them.
Yes, she got good food too.
Yeah, and but is it that, like food, like agriculture, and when we go and plant, is it that we're not taking an active interest in these things as people, and B, those who know, let's say food for instance, not making a concerted effort? So our parents and grandparents and our uncles and aunts and those who who are really, 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 really gifted and skilled in the kitchen, they're not making sure that they're passing along that knowledge, and then we are not willing to draw alongside, as it were, and to learn. I mean, how many of us can really cook conch and turtle and fish and beef and the thing. And then to top it off, there are many of us who, for whatever reason, have now decided to either not eat those things anymore, or if we do, not eat them as often as we did. When we do eat it, we find that, oh man, this seems expensive, I can't afford it. And if we do get it, we say, but this lobster, for instance, tastes differently, or this turtle tastes different, or something is different about the food. Not how it's prepared necessarily, but the actual food itself. The thing does not taste like it used to taste.
You know why?
Tell me.
You know why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't cook the food with love.
I think that has a lot to do with it. You ever had a meal from your mama's kitchen or your good friend's table and realize that even the meal itself, wasn't a great meal in the sense of its seasoning and taste, but it tasted so great because you could taste the love.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's just how it is, man.
Yeah, that's true. Well, boy, Sterling, I didn't know what to say because we are losing the little bit of Cayman every minute of the day. And we are talking about opening up the island, and there's so much work to be done on the island before we can bring tourism back to this island. This morning, 8 o'clock, in my yard, I had mosquitoes biting me. Can you imagine 8 o'clock in the morning, mosquitoes biting you, and 7 o'clock at night, they're biting you as well, too?
As well as midday and afternoon?
Well, I haven't got into one yet, but
Lucky you.
I have experienced it in the morning, 8 o'clock, and I experienced it 7 o'clock in the evening. But, put everything aside, though, Sterling, seriously, a lot of cleaning up, a lot of adjustment has to be done on this island. And I can't see how we can open, when they say we're going to open another couple of months in regards to this island, because this island needs a big uplifting. From the beach right down to buildings repeating, the roads. It's so much.
Yeah, well,
so much.
It's about pride, right? Being proud of what you have, being respectful of it, and being responsible with it. So if we sit and wait for someone else to do it, in particular, what seems to have been the growing norm amongst men, that's for government.
If we all put a hand in, we can look at Southtown. I'm driving through Southtown right now, and it smells terrible with the seaweed. I guess someone will start to call and say, well, all those getting a stipend should be out there cleaning the streets and painting the buildings and so forth and so forth. Hey, I am willing to help in any capacity once my legs permit me, and I can get a cup of case of water.
There you go.
Keep the person company and all that kind of good stuff,
Yeah, man.
We need to come together. We're too small and we're getting older.
The unity.
And everybody's just disappearing. They don't want to see you when you're alive, but as soon as you're dead, they all flocking to your house. They come to the graveyard. I can't see you.
Too late then,
It's too late. Don't come look. Don't come to my house, but I'm food there.
Yeah.
I'm style food cook there.
Yeah. Share your cassava cake with me while I'm alive, right?
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks very much, Mom. Okay.
All right.
Blessings to you too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Let's go to the other line. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon to you, Sterling Green.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Just fine, thank you. Just I could briefly say, I understand our latest right, a true Caymanian of the soil. We have to understand there are those who have come to live amongst us who would like to ban the sale of turtle meat completely. Don't pretend that you haven't heard this or you haven't known this.
Well, we've seen it, right?
They print letters in the newspaper about that. Understand very carefully, those people have a lot of say. The foreigners who come here, who involve themselves in the social aspect of our lives. I will say no more about that, but we may not be allowed to even have turtle meat. Understand, I watched when they signed the CITES Convention, and I said this is the beginning of the end of Cayman for Caymanians. I meant it then in 1983, and I mean it now. I don't take back my word on that.
Mm-hmm.
It is time for us to understand what religious freedom of religion means. It's not freedom of denominations. It is freedom of religion. There are accepted practices of religion, satanic worship, that's accepted as a religion in Europe. And I think it's one or two states in the United States allows covens of witches and so forth as an organized and accepted religion. So we may have devil worship practice here if we accept all this human rights. Human rights. Understand that's what that's all about, to accept anything that these other people would like to inflict and bring upon us. We have to understand it's a fight for our culture to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And as I see it, we're losing the battle. Do you understand what it would mean to have a organized satanic worship religions accepted here and being practiced here and so forth? We just, when we see these things happen, we say, oh my God, if we had only known. But we know. We heard it coming for a long time ago. And we know. We are no longer part of the European Union, thank God. I think we are separated from that. Never should have been. As far as I'm concerned, Britain should never have been involved in that. They had to go to war for them, the greatest war the history has ever known. Britain went into there to try to defend these countries who more or less gave up or didn't defend themselves. And the United States had to come in. We see the same thing with Afghanistan now. People refusing cowardly to defend their own principles and beliefs. And we can fall into that category.
All right. Respectfully, sir, just beg your indulgence as we have to pause and take this break. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Aston Shedden Rutty, MBE 1990 to 1977. Aston Rutty was the first child born to Henry Watson Rutty, ISO JP, and Julia Ann Rutty Nilazari at Stake Bay, Cayman-Brac. He attended school at Stake Bay and as a young teenager was sent to Jamaica to attend technical training school. On his return, he worked for his father, who was collector of customs for Cayman-Brac and Little Cayman. He eventually became the Sister Islands' first district commissioner. Mr. Rutty was married to Ruth Merrin in 1931, and the couple had 4 children. Mr. Rutty is best remembered for his dedication and diligent work to rebuild the Sister Islands in the aftermath of the 1932 hurricane. He was involved in the construction of roads, the airport, government buildings, and much of the infrastructure of the Sister Islands. He served as an immigration and customs officer, as a judge, and after retiring from government in 1960 as a law agent. The Civic Center on the Bluff was named in his honor. Aston Shedden Rutty.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman-Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
That thing we've been saying for 64 years? Ignore it. Eat the KFC wings, drink the KFC gravy, fill up on fries. Just please forget the thing we normally suggest. You know, that thing you used to do with your tongue after finishing a delicious piece of our KFC chicken. We get it. It's not easy. There's a reason why it's been our slogan for over half a century. But the world's drastically changed of late, and as soon as we can embrace the change, the sooner we can all get back to doing what we do best. KFC. It's good.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us. Here, 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. And as we're looking at a number of sort of WhatsApps, let's just read this first one. This listener was asking if we are aware whether the airfares will be reduced by Cayman Airways. Business was the market leader for U.S. airfares from Cayman when the flights resume in Cayman in October. We know that a caller earlier said he was looking to fly out on the 14th or whatever the date was. He said in short order, and was told to call back on the 9th, presumably this month. And the fares, as he was informed, were to sort of go back to the regular prices, to increase. Let's take this other caller and then we ask the other question that was offered. Hey, good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon.
How are you today, man?
I'm good, thanks, and you?
Very, very thankful indeed.
I'm taking a lunch with my wife right now.
Well,
some kind of tempura-style fish batters team. Tempura-style fish batters with a little Cayman seasoning in them. Talking about food.
Sounds good, man.
But and a little coconut saffron rice and a garden salad. But anyway, yeah, talking about food. How are we supposed to have food and culture when people don't care about their culture, man? Come on, man. They sold us out. They don't care about our culture. Remember Galleon Beach? You can go to Galleon Beach am I on still?
But can we not still have a care and a promotion of our culture even when we reminisce about the places that no longer exist?
Sorry, sir?
You're asking, if we don't care about our culture, right? But we've seen development. We've seen buildings replaced. So now, as we reminisce about those places that are now gone forever and only remain in our memories, can we not still celebrate and promote and care for our culture in the midst of all the new and the bright?
Of course you can. Of course we can. Shoot. When this started, we were already doing it properly at first to a certain extent from what I saw. I don't know how old you are. I'm 52. Remember Galleon Beach Cookout? You had your Austrian chef there. You could get your, I don't eat meat anymore, but you could get your white German sausages, your Austrian sausages. You could get your Cayman stuff. You could get your barbecue chicken, all together. Remember, even Crack Conk had it right when I got back from school from the States in the late 80s. You had your good chefs up there, maybe Austrian and some French. Depends on where in France and Australia you go. So you're careful now because it was a spice trade before the slave trade. We want to give too much credit to Europe for gourmet food because spices, sugar, tea, coffee, satin, silk, none of these things came out of Europe.
Right, but as we listen to what you're sharing, right? I mean, even then, the chefs were from different places, melding with the chefs from here, and so we start to blend.
Culture,
right?
But what we have here right now are colonists. We don't have actually people visiting the Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
We have white supremacist mentality colonists.
Right, but
we have a lot of people up here to uphold that. Let me speak 1 second here. When I went to Cayman Brac a couple of years ago, I've never seen a more glossier picture of Christopher Columbus. Okay? A gentleman called in from the Brac one time, we were talking about colonization or something, picking up Christopher Columbus, what a great navigator he was. Number one, he was not the navigator. That black man, the Moor, was. Okay? He had a Moor navigator. Do your research. Christopher Columbus was not a great man, and that's why, and he didn't discover anything. His holiday has been taken out of schools. I'm talking, I went to a middle, upper class, white suburb middle school. They were taken out of school from the mid-late 80s. It was an option to celebrate Christopher Columbus Day. I said that to say this. If you're going to worship a colonial, declassified rapist, pedophile, this man sent back children to his friends in Europe, okay? sent the colonial dogs to eat, to bite the children out of the local women's stomach. So we have the older gentleman from Brack, wherever it was, calling in, talking about how he was a smart man. He got in with the people. Which people do you come in and shoot and kill do you think you marry by choice? I mean, come on. We need to wake up to the reality here. Then you have the nerve to talk about religion. And religion is right. It was spirituality before religion, and we have our rights under that spiritual rights. Who goes? You imagine going to Korea and banning kimchi?
No, when you know, looking at the historical context through your lens, right? We cannot unring the bell, as it were. So what do we do now, especially in the Cayman context, seeing the million different nationalities that are here, you know, the 300,000 people that are on our shores, because at some point that's going to be the number, right?
Let me tell you something, sir. It doesn't really matter, because let me tell you something. Once people know they are somewhere where people stand up for their culture, not just stand up. When I say stand up, I don't mean stand up and puff your chest out. I'm an African Cayman. I'm not puffing my chest out about that. Anyone that sees me can see that, okay? Only some of our people can't see that for some dumb reason. But let me tell you something. Once people know their culture and their history, people aren't so subject to this type of scrutiny that we have put ourselves onto. Our parents' generation put us under, actually, with this colonial mentality. We've completely screwed the confidence in the minds of these kids. Once you know your heritage, your culture, that teaches ownership, that teaches identity. You understand what I'm saying?
But that's what I'm asking you with what we have now, realizing, you know, your level of passion for what you're sharing. What do we do now? All the nationalities that are here, all of the things that are going to come, how do we bring people along to appreciate, as you said, the history, the heritage, the culture, and continue to live in not only a harmonious, you know, socially stable way, but to celebrate?
It has to start with ourselves first.
Mm-hmm.
Stop looking at each other like we're our great European rapist ancestor. Okay? Then we're my great-great-grandfather is Irish. When a person comes in, Europeans come in, whether it's a good set of Caucasians or a bad set, they see that. They see worshiping Christopher Columbus that they've gotten rid of in their schools by the 70s and 80s. Okay? When they see worshiping these pedophiles, these colonial rapists, when they see you acknowledging
but you are,
then they're going to take advantage.
Yeah, but as we look to the past and we see the transgressions, what are we doing now to move forward so that we don't repeat, you know, those acts which we probably are not so proud of? So what are we doing now? What can we do now? What is that solution?
Friend, my Asian friends, that's why racism stops outwardly, because people are empathetic and humane. A lot of what goes on here is inhumane. Come on, let's face it here. We have a white supremacist mentality here. You don't need to be a white supremacist to uphold that mentality. You can be a colonialist. I hate to say the word, but we call them field slaves. The actual word is not the actual word. We call them field N-word, actually. Okay? They all want to be up in the big house. They'll sell you up for $1 more, and that's the mentality we have here. People need to understand about the Willie Lynch syndrome, divide, rule, and conquer, that was set up by him to control the plantations. Because, listen, there's a lot you don't hear about history, you know. The colonization was a very violent and horrible and terrible thing, and which butt breaking was a part of it. That's where homosexuality was used against our people. Until we educate people about history here, we're not going to go anywhere, my friend, and it will continue to get worse. And they will call in, pick up Christopher Columbus, put pictures up of the best slave masters that no one respects where they come from anymore, and this is what we'll end up with. Okay, but I've got my, and you don't get me wrong, I love international food too. I travel, and I learn, okay? I learned. When you go somewhere, when I go to Madagascar, or I go to Mauritius, or I go to Jamaica, or I go to Haiti, I learned something from the culture, okay? This, what we have here, is a big cluster F. This is
my friend, you know, sometimes, you know, maybe we diverge, but other times, you know, we can perhaps bring our senses, you know, to be heightened and appreciate it. Hey, thanks for sharing your thoughts. Let's pause, though. Take this break. Keep on the right side of Susan, not always on the left side. I like to be on the left sometimes. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
20 years.
Remember when Crew Road had no median and Linford Pearson was only 2 lanes?
We do.
When Dirty Reeds was down the street?
We do.
We have been there for the Falls, the growth, and the rise. When your body and mind needed to change, Powerhouse Gym has been here. We've skated with you. Your first date, your daughter's first time on skates, your son's first strike. From football to squash, to karate and hockey, to bowling and concerts, and everything in between.
For 20 years,
so much has changed, some for the good and some not so much. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman.
King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
To those affected by a hurricane, the damage is far greater than the eye can see. It's the helplessness and uncertainty you feel when you have no electricity or running water. It's the pain of experiencing damage to your home. But there are people right here that can help. We're CG Britke. We're your neighbors. We live here and work here too. We're always ready to answer calls and to process your claims as quickly as possible. So when a storm turns your life upside down, we're here to turn it around. CG Britke. Good like that.
For the record. For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM for Cayman's Straight Talk Morning Show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record.
Brought to you by
Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
The 8:10 a.m. weather report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by Pan American International Insurance Corporation. Pan American International Insurance Corporation, meeting the life, accident, and health insurance needs of individuals and businesses to ensure financial security and peace of mind. For more information, call 949-8304 or visit www.palig.com. That's PALIG.com.
Join us on Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 a.m. on Radio Cayman for The Business Buzz. The Business Buzz is produced by Susan Watson and hosted by Anita Khan, who brings her own unique, enthusiastic, and engaging perspective to The Business Buzz. Tune in as we put a spotlight on a wide cross-section of businesses in the Cayman Islands. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 a.m. on Radio Cayman.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. It is open line 949-8037, 1-800-534-TALK. That's 1-800-534-8255. It's a flow toll-free number, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Here's a question that was posed by, that was the second of the two questions posed by a listener earlier in relation to, the government's mentioning in August, which, when you think about it, that was just a few days ago. This is just September starting. In August, the government mentioned that a repatriation flight was being arranged for Havana, Cuba. I want to know if there are any updates on this flight as yet. Well, if anybody knows and wants to share, well, go right ahead. And it's part of, I think, what's moving along. But there's something that another excellent lady has shared, and I always think it's interesting to see how it's sort of picked up and maybe duplicated in others, because it resonates with someone. So if you have, say two people or so having a discussion and they're always in agreement, perhaps that's a sign that at least one of the two isn't thinking critically or being as candid in what they're saying. For it isn't that differences of opinion don't have to be threats. They can just be opportunities to learn. The notion that intellectual friction isn't a relationship hug. It's a feature of education. And that's an important part, the notion that we hear from people about agree to disagree. Well, it's part and parcel the idea that as you look increasingly at what is happening, and your view is a different view from your closest friend and family, your own people, well, maybe that level of, sort of dissension cannot necessarily have to result in division. 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261. The gentleman that called yesterday asking a few things in relation to our roads and the need to have some of the roads repaved, not just because of the potential hazards that it may have for road users, but the potential that it could be causing a lot more long-term damage to our vehicles as we traverse the roads. Someone called in and said, well, as we look at the speed limits, we have reduced portion of the West Bay Road to 25, presumably to make it, safer for our visitors. But should we also consider how the roads are being used? If it's that you have unlicensed cars that are uninsured, and there's a sort of breach of the legislation in that respect, what are we doing to rectify that? But then when we are legally allowing motorized vehicles, whether on 2 wheels, 3 or otherwise, to be used, whether they're in the form of a skateboard or a bicycle or otherwise, to be used on the same space in the same manner as vehicles that need, under the law, to be licensed, are we doing ourselves a disservice from the perspective of not gaining any sort of revenue from those road users? But more importantly, putting the road users, those on those vehicles, at greater risk, but as well as the others. And then as we look at the roads themselves, how are we considering the speed limits? Where in some areas that are highly developed residential areas that are sort of older established communities, the speed limits may be much higher than the 25. Why, as the caller sort of left the haunting thought, would we have legislation that says if a particular criminal offense is created in a labeled tourism area, it would attract higher punitive measures, higher terms of imprisonment and the like, that the same act was created or occurred in one of our established communities. Not that we should have a sense of hospitality and reception to those who visit our shores to ensure their safety, but should it not also be the same thing for those who live and work here, whether they've been here for generations and have their links, or whether they've recently stepped to the shores to take up employment or to retire or to live part-time? An act against a person should not be different in terms of the consequence to the perpetrator if it happens in area A or area B, a tourist area or a residential area far away from the hustle and bustle. Well, his obvious comments were to which maybe some of you would agree. It's again an increasing sense of discrimination. Let's go to the phones though. Hey, good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling.
Mr. Sterling, I forgot to tell you something.
Well, glad you remembered it. Go right ahead, man.
I'm being honest with you. I tried my best not to discriminate.
Yeah.
And if, for example, I see some person with a beautiful smile and their teeth are, everybody teeth is not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And, you tell them hello, you have a great day, and because we don't know who is who really, and all that, so, you treat people fairly, and they will treat you fairly.
Respect begets respect, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, is that what's lacking?
I had I met lots of people over a long period of time, man. And be honest with you, the majority of them were really nice people.
Yep.
I don't know who they were, but they were really nice. Very nice people. I'm telling you.
Well,
and yeah,
that's because you were yourself, you you tell people in a very polite, respectful manner, good morning. You are, very, very friendly and hospitable to them, and so they see that and they respond in kind.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, man. Some of the most wonderful people that I've ever met in my life. I thought that, it seemed to me that I knew them for decades. I'm telling you.
Yeah, man.
They were really nice. The most beautiful people in the world.
Yeah. Well, I think, it is one of the wonderful things about people. If we are nice, good follows good. Not always, that we may be treated as nice as we treat others, but shouldn't stop us from trying to treat others as best as we can and to be as kind, loving, and considerate. And as you go about doing those things, hopefully it'll come back to you tenfold. All right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, my friend.
Oh, okay, sir.
Talk to you again some more.
Okay.
Thanks very much. All right, well, let's read a few of our comments that have come in. Back to the COVID-19 situation. It says, if after reopening we have two, and this is a scenario, suppose that we have two separate outbreaks that is community spread. How many ICU beds does the HSA have to handle critical COVID patients and other critical patients at one time? Does the HSA have all the tools to treat those that may become infected? Finally, what is government's plan if we shut down again? And then, will it be a more informed lockdown and not like the total ban on beach accesses and such, draconian and tyrannical laws and regulations as we had in 2020? Well, maybe experience would be a good teacher, and we would see, what we can. And as a caller off here is relaying to us, visitor comes into the shores and becomes ill. What do we do? How do we respond to it? Well, I have confidence in our political leadership. I have that their HSA and all the medical community. I have confidence in their competency. But the question, as many are asking, to what extent are we being informed in a timely, accurate manner that we can trust what is being shared? And as a people, I think, some of us anyway, we like to have as much information as we can because it helps us to prepare so that when we can respond, we already have some sort of contingencies in mind. Then there are those who just love to bury our heads in the sand. We don't want to know, don't ask, don't tell me anything. And hopefully there are not many like that, but there are some. And then there are those who, what they say, they get bogged down, paralysis by analysis. They never make a decision. All kinds to make the world go around. But the question is, how are we doing what we're doing? And even when we're not as trusting of things, some of us still, go about acting because we think it's, the best thing to do, or because we become persuaded by that person for whom there's a level of influence, over our thoughts and our actions. But at the end of the day, when there's a question from someone or a comment, how do we receive that? Do we malign and label them and castigate? Take the term that's coming out of the American media, anti-vaxxers. Sometimes we just say and repeat things without much thought. A fellow said the other day that he asked a simple question about an injection he was getting, nothing to do with anything that was necessary. He just wanted to know what it was, and lo and behold, someone said, "Oh, you're anti-vaxxer." And he thought they can't be talking about him. Here he is with everything that was supposedly offered up over the years as a vaccine that he took. He just wanted to understand something because he didn't. Again, we caught up in fear. We get bogged down in stupidity, and we no longer have a sense of civility. So let's not make sure that's not the case here as we move about. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. And Miss Susan says, and I shall follow. Susan says, well, take the break and then go to the phones. That's what we'll do.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For the first time in over 45 years, the University College of the Cayman Islands is having an alumni homecoming gala dinner on October 28th. The event highlights the kickoff of the UCCI Alumni Network, a community of professionals helping the university and one another. If you're a UCCI graduate, join the network today and let your fellow classmates know about it. Visit ucci.edu.ky/alumni and come give us a hand with UCCI's first ever homecoming.
Census 2021. Came on, get ready. Census starting 10th of October 2021. Census information is secret. Census 2021. Census starting October 10th. 2021. Census 2021. Census. 2021 Census. Everyone counts.
Dress for success and demonstrate school pride by learning and following the National Dress Code policy and the specific dress code for each government school. Under the National Dress Code policy, boys' hair must be cut short and of natural color. Uniform shirts must be neatly tucked in, undergarments concealed, sneakers or shoes black, and jewelry limited to a wristwatch. Take pride in your stride today. View the complete dress code policy at www.education.gov.ky. This is a message from the Ministry of Education.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks for joining us. It's 949-8037 or the Flow toll-free line at 1-800-534-8255. So go to our phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Billy Simamba here. How are you today together with your esteemed listeners?
Very well, yeah. And I must say, it's interesting, you know? You think of people and they come to your thoughts and they appear in your sight. So good to hear from you, man.
Well, yeah, it's good to be on again. I just thought I might weigh in a little bit. One of the things going on in Cayman right now is there are these new 5 QCs who are going to be called to the inner bar tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I read that, I mean, it was very good. First of all, there are 5 QCs who will be, call them inducted. That's not the term they use, but they'll be inducted. 5 QCs. And out of those 5, how many generational Caymanians do you have?
Mm-hmm.
Only one. And that one is Mr. Alvin McLaughlin now. I know that people will say he hasn't been in practice for a long time, or he has been out of the system. I remember him describing himself one time jokingly. He said, "Oh, I'm a recovering lawyer," you know, in the sense that he acknowledged that he had been out of practice for some time.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, for me, as much as that is something which is a caveat, and it looks like more political than anything, but I can live with that. I can live with it because he is the only generational Caymanian out of 5 people who are being inducted. And he's a smart man. He has worked in legislation for a long time and so on. And I had the privilege of working on a few pieces of legislation with him. So I can live with that as much as it's a little bit unusual. If anything, it is the current premier who should have been inducted because he was like in practice a little longer. But I would have loved, by the way, to see the 2 of them be inducted at the same time since they qualified about the same time and they're good friends and so on. But other than that, there are other issues regarding this. where are the other generational Caymanians who could have been inducted? The people who come to me right now are David Rich, Sharon Ralston, Teresa Pitcairn, Brian Hunter, Steve McField, Oliver Watler, Wade Da Costa, and the list goes on.
If I may just interject and ask you, because maybe some of us don't appreciate the process. So when a lawyer, an attorney becomes a QC, maybe two things you could maybe answer for us. What is the process? Is it after a certain amount of times before the bar in good standing? And is it that they have to sort of make that application?
Well, I'll tell you what I understand from it. A lot of this stuff, like in England, you have to apply to be a QC.
Mm-hmm.
In England, you have to apply, and you technically qualify when you have been at the bar for 10 years, at least 10 years. Most people tend to get it when they've got about 20 years and so on, but you do apply. But in Cayman, my understanding in Cayman is that actually you don't apply. The Chief Justice sits together with some people in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and they and some local people together with other judges, and they say, okay, who are we essentially going to honor this time? Okay, so it's more like they just pick, and like in England where you at least last time I checked on that, you had to apply.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you see, even if for the sake of argument, people were to say, well, but people have to sort of like apply, but still, this is something that you could make as a matter of policy. I know that in some countries they have a policy where they say that for every number of QCs who are inducted, a certain percentage have to be local. Like sometimes they say at least half have to be local.
Mm.
You need a little bit of something like that, because you see what happens, Dwayne, is that in a case such as this, when young Caymanian kids are growing up and they don't see people who are also Caymanian being made QCs, there is a way it grows in their minds as if they are not that smart, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that is not good. Look, when was Truman Borden Law School established? 1982.
82, right?
Yeah, I checked it out. 1982.
Mm-hmm.
And next year it will be 40 years since the establishment of that.
Mm-hmm.
You mean up to now? I mean, in other words, it's been producing lawyers for about 35 years. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you mean up to now can't get more, any real generational Caymanians like those I've mentioned and many others to be QCs. I think there's a problem there. But let me just give it a little bit of like a broader perspective. My concern in Cayman, my adopted home, my concern is that an underclass of Caymanians is being created. And that underclass actually starts from kindergarten. I watched this young lady, her name is Latoya Francis. She's born in Cayman. Latoya Francis spoke at the Borden Symposium, and she brought to light something from the 2020 school inspection survey. And she said, and she gave these statistics from the report, that less than, institutions like educational institutions are classified as excellent, very good, and, satisfactory and so on. And she found that of those educational institutions which are classified as being excellent, less than 1% of the Caymanian kids go there. Okay? Of those that are classified as being excellent educational institutions in Cayman, the inspection report says less than 1% of the kids there are Caymanian. And then you look at how many people go for tertiary education. I understand it's very, very low, somewhere around 10% or less. And then also you have this situation now where at the end of it, for example, those who become lawyers, it will take a long time for them to become QCs. Do you see how the underclass is being created right from the cradle? From the kindergarten school up to the schools, up to the end. It's like the Caymanians are occupying the lower stratum. And then as if that's not enough, then you've got a system of school where the experts go to another school, most of the local kids go to another school, and that becomes a problem. Mm-hmm. Again, the statistic which was also given was that of those educational institutions that are rated as being merely satisfactory or weak, the number of kids who go there, more than 80% are Caymanian. So I think that we need to look at this issue in a broader perspective, understand that with everything that is being done, the local Caymanian kids are being structurally put at the bottom, and until government really looks at this in a holistic manner and so on, there will be problems 20, 25 years down the road. You will find that in the end, Caymanians will have to create like an indigenous society for the protection of indigenous rights. Why? Because at that time they would have been pushed to a real corner. But I just hope that that doesn't happen. But that's my 2 cents on it. One more thing, Wayne, you've allowed me so much time.
Yes, sir.
Related to this issue, then you come to the issue of employment. How much preference are the Caymanians being given in preference? To me, I keep saying this thing. There are 2 sections which work. Work can amend them now, and they'll have an impact. If they amend the immigration law regulation 6, where it says that when you apply for a renewal of a work permit, you may be asked to provide a succession plan. That should be shall. And a lot of other people have advocated to that. It will make an immediate impact. Also, under the Public Service Management Law, at the moment it says that, the only time you give a Caymanian preference is if their qualifications are roughly at the same level as a foreigner. Then you give preference to a Caymanian. That doesn't give any preference to a Caymanian in a real sense, okay? In other countries, they don't do that. In other countries, they say if you are a Caymanian and you qualify, you are the best qualified Caymanian and you meet the minimum qualifications, they should give you the job, even if they've got a foreigner who's got like twice your qualifications, because it's your country, and that's what every country does. And then you will grow in the position. Otherwise, at the moment, it's not working. All these things that the new government is trying to do, that's good. But if they want to start on a more definite footing, amend those 2 sections, those provisions in those 2 laws, immigration law and public service management law, and there will be an immediate impact.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks very much, man. And this is where I guess we look down the road and see where we're heading. Appreciate your sentiments. Let's take the other call before the news. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yes. Good afternoon, Sterling.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good, you know.
Always.
I didn't call about this particular subject that Mr. Simamba was on, but I suddenly thought that I might make some kind of pronouncement on this. Now, I tell you this, I know the man.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was like maybe 99.9% correct in what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but I think it was 100% self-serving, and that they were knowing the man there were ulterior motives there. I didn't call about that, so I don't want to address it, but I just think that he made some great points, but I think it was primarily like 100% self-serving. And so I just thought I'd mention that. But listen, get this. I'm actually on the phone, so you can speak to the
radio. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, caller? All right. So, hello? All right. You there, or what?
I'm here. Okay, listen. I'm actually on Bluetooth headphone.
Okay, we're missing that. Maybe we can reconnect as Susan directs her. All right. She can touch base with you, figure out where we are, hit the news, and then decide where to go. Stay tuned for Dr. Day.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. Today's biggest news.
Government reported the results of 705 COVID-19 tests on Wednesday. One came back positive. So far, 70% of Cayman's estimated population is fully vaccinated. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, 8 U.S. states will accept driver's licenses and other state IDs stored on an iPhone. Apple has announced the feature, first announced at a presentation in June, lets iPhone users store IDs in the Wallet app. Some had expressed privacy concerns about handing over smartphones to police or security officials. And a branch of McDonald's in Oregon, U.S. is calling on 14 and 15-year-olds to apply for jobs at the restaurant amid a shortage of fast food workers. The Biddle Road franchise in Medford put a banner outside its shop 2 weeks ago urging younger workers to apply. According to reports, it has seen a spike in applications since making the offer, which complies with labor laws. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us. 949-8837, 1-800-534-8255. To that caller, thanks very much.
Yes.
So we were having a little challenge. Appreciate what you're sharing, man. But
okay,
I just want...
Okay. No, yeah. I as I said, I was kind of finished with that topic. If you want to discuss it, I shall. But I was done with that topic. Maybe I could call back another time and we can discuss it.
Yeah.
But
you were sharing that the caller prior was, I just want to make sure I didn't misunderstand, was a bit self-serving. Is that what you had shared?
Yes, that's what I was.
Okay, I didn't quite get that, but of course we all can draw inferences, right? But fair enough. We can dispense with that if you wish.
Yes, certainly. Because I don't, but I know the person, and there's several circumstances.
All right. So, but you was another topic you wanted to reference, is it, right?
Yes, certainly. Okay. Now, this is a bit complex. But about 2.5 or so years ago, I was involved in an accident where somebody wrote off my Chevy Malibu, the lovely car I loved it. I miss it, right? But he was totally wrong because we were just outside of Hemingway's. He came out onto me. I was heading to West Bay, and he was trying to get to Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
But he was North American, as I assumed at the time when he hit me, because as he was coming out, the two people in his vehicle kept shouting, "Stop, stop!" But he looked left and didn't stop because he thought he was safe. But you know, if he were in the States and he's coming out, he doesn't have to worry about anybody to his right. Because he's the next one headed in that direction. So when they're saying stop, stop, he's looking left, looking like towards West Bay, the direction in which I'm going.
Right. So yeah.
And I don't know what he was drinking because people bystanders saw it.
Right. So the accident, and then
Yeah. So what happened is that once he came to his senses, he reversed and zooped around me and headed towards Georgetown. But I waited. The police came and his license plate got caught and was under my vehicle after he had gone. But I had taken the license plate number. So anyhow, they got witnesses who said that he was definitely in the wrong. And the police couldn't find him immediately. They found him some year later or something. Through CCTV footage, they saw him, and they found out who he was. He's this guy who...
Okay, so then the consequence then was what?
Well, that's I'm trying to get it. So please bear with me a little.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Right? So the point is, they found he was wrong. When they finally got around to getting us into court, right? I am there, the man is there, and when I thought they were going to null pros, in other words, they were not going to prosecute him. And the reason being was that there were no witnesses. And the guy who was running the show said that to the magistrate. She accepted that, and they threw the case out because there were no witnesses. I'm saying that there were witnesses who came forward. Some of them were tourists, and they, of course, they might not have returned. I couldn't get in touch. But there was one who worked for, I think, Avis, went forward and voluntarily said, anytime you want me, you can call me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they called her. She was Canadian, so she might have left. I don't know. But the bottom line is, they said there are no witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
I was there. He was there. He left the scene of the accident, obviously intended to escape. And when they confronted him, he said he didn't know anything about it. He said because he leaves the vehicle, and anybody in the complex part, he owns some complex in Northward or somewhere outside.
Mm-hmm.
And once he left the vehicle, people would then, whoever wanted it, they know where he hid the key in the vehicle, and they would take it and they would go off from it. So he doesn't know who it was. But the thing is, he was in the country at that time. They were able to find that out. So I picked him out of the lineup, right? So it's not a question of whether it was he or not. It was he.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a bit disturbed when they said it was. So I asked the gentleman, bailiff or whatever he was. I asked him what was happening. He said, because I got when I protested, I said, but I don't understand, Your Honor. Why are we saying that there are no witnesses when I was there, when this gentleman was there, and you were saying there are no witnesses? And he said he would explain it to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the gentleman, the man in charge. He said he would explain it to me. So I must call him. So I said, but I don't even know who you are. So he gave me a card, and then I called the number. Now, remember, the first time I'm meeting the guy. Maybe his name was on the summons. But the point is, I might just have recorded the date, and I wasn't sure what his name was. I didn't bother with all that. I think that was coming in the wash, so to speak. So I left, and when I called the office, they asked me what was the man's name. I thought it was irrelevant, but I didn't have the man's name to give them. I gave them my name, and they said they can't help me because after the lady who answered had consulted with the gentleman whose name, who told me to call him. So I was speaking to the gentleman who actually served the summons. I know him, and he said, whatever happened? And I told him, he said, no, that's not right. You should air that. You should get it because the whole process was wrong. Everything in that case was wrong, and you should let people know. And he suggested who I might write to, etc., etc. So I don't know. I suddenly got this notion that I should air it on your program.
But as you bring it to light, maybe as the fellow advised, take it to the requisite entity that would be responsible. It could just be an unfortunate series of missteps, as you reference, and nothing sinister, as somebody may want to infer,
I am forced to feel so because, there are other wheels within those wheels. And
right.
It might have come from an incident that happened earlier, and involving the magistrate and myself. So I'm thinking that might have been the reason for it, because I cannot see how they can throw it out on the grounds that there are no witnesses. That makes absolutely no sense, because I am there. The police found him to be wrong. That's why they pursued him. They found it. They had to because he fled the scene. They were able to trace him on CCTV and get him where he was. Plus, they had a license plate, which God had made sure was left there so that they could know exactly who he was. But they got him and they let him go. And I'm still suffering from that. I couldn't buy back a Chevy Malibu. I bought a decent car, but it's nothing at all like my Chevy. And a whole host of things in there, right. My knee, and a whole host of things in there.
Well, while you have time on your side, maybe follow that guidance, and even if just a letter to the Judicial and Legal Services Commission, perhaps it's at the office of the DPP, unfortunately, sometimes, we got to advocate for ourselves, and we don't always feel that, things go the way that we think they should, and there may be justifiable reasons, but as you are sharing, you feel a bit aggrieved, and don't let it rest until you feel that you've had your proper address. All right. Thanks very much, sir. Miss Susan, good day, yeah? 949-837, 1-800-534-8255. Life is what it is. Let's pause and take a short break. When we come back, more talk today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Look at you, listening to the radio, tuning in, getting stuff done. Total doer. Maybe you're driving, maybe you're getting your oil changed or grabbing some chicken. Maybe you're doing something that's nobody's business but yours. Hey, that's cool. We're all doing something. Now you can join a whole new community of doers doing more on findyellow.com. With custom search, local experts, and trusted reviews, whatever you're doing, get it done on findyellow.com.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72% over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s. And today, we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261 and share your thoughts with us. A couple of quick comments to maybe read for our listeners, but let's go to the phones first. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ebanks.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Good, man. Just called to pick on you a little bit, you know?
Well, listen, I mean, there might be a long line, so you might be at the top of the queue.
All right. Well, we got to roll the reel back a little bit a few callers ago, the one talking about Christopher Columbus.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, first of all, he's correct in saying what he said about Columbus, because if everybody did the history reports and check up what we were taught, we'll find him to be true.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of stuff that we've been force-fed that when we check it up,
mm-hmm.
it's all the opposite. It's lies, you know? That's like, I give you one, a next instance where everybody carries this book holy and praises it and everything, and not to be against anything religious or anything but the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Not even the Bible, but it's the writer or the author of the Bible, King James.
Or the translation and the like, right?
Yes, if they check out who King James was,
mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of them would even carry that Bible anymore. Not to saying that we can kill the message because of the messenger.
Yeah, but he wasn't the author, right?
No. He had 4 other men that he commissioned to help him write this thing, yeah.
Yeah, well
over 500 years.
To translate it, right? Not necessarily write it, but to translate it.
Translate,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
in their ways.
Right.
And back to you now. You asked a question to the caller. What do we do going forward from now? This already happened. How do we stop these kind of stuff? You know.
Right.
Well, I was driving and I was thinking, and I said, no, it's simple. Just stop it. Okay, we have simple as the beach erosion that we have going on around the island because of some greedy people who building out to the waterline and changing the natural course of the tides that come around the Cayman Islands. But you think to the government tomorrow, if they really want, if this is the big picture now, if they really wanted to, they could put a stop to it, say there's a moratorium on all buildings going up on the public 7 Mile Beach or any beach area. You have to build, like they said in the 80s, on the land side, where is across from the beach, not as they built it now. If they really wanted to do it, they could, but guess what now? Kisses go by favors, and the favors have already been done. But it takes a brave man to stand up and say that he was wrong and to make a change. But I don't think we have any more iron men in wooden ships. We have it the other way around now. These are all sinkers we have. Because none of them standing up for the moral thing. They stand up for the monetary and the material.
No, just a straw man.
Yeah, we can't, like I tell them, if the greatest thing in life for us is experiences and our memories. That's all the thing that we can take us to the grave. Anything else material, that is nothing. That can't save you, it can't help you, it can't make you happy or sad. And the quicker we get to know these things, the quicker we could move on to a better life. Because like Cayman now, we accept that we have 140-something nations here. Okay? We are a minority in our own society without protection. We are ostracized in our own society. And it's not just me saying this. You can look around at everywhere. Even our rollover policy doesn't work. Because I've seen people roll over out of one industry of menial jobs, not a technician and things. As simple as a gas pump attendant. I've seen them roll over after they're 9 years, and a year after they're back at that pump. That should never happen. There should be some kind of succession planning for the local to say, well, here, what, you get this permit for 9 years, you have more than enough time to give this person a degree in pumping gas. Okay, it will take 4 years for our bachelor's and the next 4 years for our master's. So you have 8 years, so you have an extra year to train somebody to pump gas locally. You must do that, unless you will not be in the vice to get a permit again.
Right. When we look at education, I mean, 4 years for the bachelor's and master's in a year or two, later on the PhD further, but even in absence of sort of that academic qualification, whatever other training, expertise, and experience we may gain, is it that our approach to growing our population, one that we need to sort of revisit? Take your example. If we bring people...
We have to retool that. We have to retool building a population. Who are we building it for, and what are we building it for?
And how are we building it, right?
Yeah, because we build it in the wrong way, because we are losing our identity while building it. Doesn't make sense. We're accepting of everything but ourselves. That is where we have this crab in a bucket syndrome that is stuck. It's really stuck. And I used to brush it off and say, no, people got changed. It got changed. But it's not changing for the better, because the more the world goes along, the more we get more materialistic. The more we lose our moral. Like my grandfather told me, if you try to please everybody, the closer you get to that goal, the closer you get to the goal of not pleasing yourself. You won't be pleased with yourself in the end, because you cannot please everybody. You'll be overstretched. It's impossible. That's why somebody said in the world there is nothing perfect, because there will always be one critic that makes it off balance.
But is that not, I think to your point, maybe that's what we need to look at now, and how we are trying to grow as a country. Not just the physical numbers, not just the pace of and face of the development, but what is that ethos that we want to inculcate into the people who live and work and call this home. Are you seeing a growing divide amongst our country?
Like I say, look at all the hotels before the corona, because they were at a boom then.
Mm-hmm.
A concierge of a hotel is somebody who could tell you about the country or the island or the area that he's in.
Mm-hmm.
How many Cayman concierges do we have? None. I went to all. I did my own research. I just went to hotel to hotel. I'm just driving because I'm a driving salesman, so I could get time to stop in these places. I've stopped there and I've looked.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all different nationalities. Some of them have the name tag: Australia, Britain,
everywhere.
Uruguay.
Yeah.
They're from everywhere but Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
So who is going to tell me about Cayman more than a Caymanian?
But then maybe two things, and I'm sure there are other possibilities, but maybe two things immediately jump out at us. If we look at the size of the population and the amount of jobs, for want of a better word, that exists, there are seemingly more jobs than there are people across government,
100%.
right? So that's why we need to bring people in to fill those jobs.
I have nothing against,
Right.
I have nothing against bringing people in.
You haven't said that, yeah, exactly.
Job, or
right.
to help to build my country.
Right. So
not build a country for them.
No.
Build my country.
Right. And because of that, sort of more jobs than people, a case, I guess, economists would talk about overemployment. We maybe need to consider, to the question that you asked earlier, what are we developing? How are we developing? For whom are we developing? What is that pace? And is that, what's the nice word we like to use nowadays, sustainable? Well, we say it, but we probably don't mean anything by it. So at the end of the day, as we look at it, more jobs than people, the other question we're asking for the people who are here, right? Whether you want to call them the Caymanians or those who've been here for a long, long time, what are we doing to ensure that they are A, aware of the different types of jobs and opportunities that exist, and B, what it takes to get those jobs? Because from what you just shared, right, whether it's the person taking a job that we say is low skill, low wage, or whether it's a job that requires a whole lot of training and experience and expertise, we seem to somehow not allow that any of those opportunities to be for our own. So if we can't get any job in any capacity, in any sector, is that something that we need to address?
Well, big time. Plus, the next thing, when we import, they have a saying out there also, we import in poverty.
Mm.
Because when you have certain different denomination or destinations, class of people coming here
mm-hmm.
from a less than background, and they come here and they can live 5 and 6 in a 1-bedroom, and they surviving, and everybody's saying, how come they have car, how come they got this? But if you look at their bills, it's split 6 different ways for a 1-bedroom, versus you as somebody who's trying to live your life in the country, it's only you for that 1-bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So they could pull together, because as the last time I checked, there was like $390-something million that leave here in repatriations every year through the monetary Western Union,
right.
MoneyGram, whatever it is.
Right.
So what percentage of that is really helping me? So basically, when I say that,
mm-hmm.
we need people to fill the jobs here to have the system going, because we have created a system that is a monster. It's more than anybody meets the eye, that more than anybody thought that would be. The person in 1976 who was trying to do the plan, the government back then, they never saw in 2021 what the country has or would have grown to.
Mm-hmm.
We were trying to fix little patches or potholes without really doing the proper grading. We never scraped the edge and check exactly what we were doing. That's like when I tell people, like the younger people, I say, hey, when I was born until I was 18, my mother and my father never had a bill. And
mm-hmm.
he goes, how is that? I say, yes, because my government took care of all the kids. That was a great incentive for you to have kids to grow the population. But what happened with that now, there was no clause in it. So everybody who came here on a permit or whatever it is, they were given that same vice to use,
mm-hmm.
which was not right, and that destroyed our system. Now, from the think about having somebody or making a child, you better think about having insurance before the child is even conceived. Before the child is, so there's no, we talk about growing a population. We're selling we're selling statuses and all this thing, but why don't we incentivize the people here by doing something like what England does? Our own, or as we would say, mother country does. If a lady up in England go to England, it's actually like almost like a business there. They give you a flat, they give you a job, they give you everything once you have a child. It's an incentive. They don't try to put all this red tape and all these different accolades so you could pay extra, so it makes it something that you actually have to think about, you're afraid of. So you won't grow the nation like that because, well, I can't spend that bill because school costs this, clothes costs this, everything costing a whack. There is no incentive for you to do it, so why would I do it? Me, I'm a father of 3, and I can tell you I've been a millionaire over 2-3 times by just having my kids because for what I've spent on them. And I don't live like a millionaire either, by just what I had to do. And I was a single parent at the time, what I had to do, and I'm still doing. But not everybody could do that. Not everybody would make that sacrifice. But if the government would do something like, say, well, here what, make insurance cheaper for the mothers who having babies and for the kids and stuff like that. Not even that they would want to do, but they would sell the status right now for $1 million because that's monetary. That's $1 in the hand. That's why these so-called leaders, they want to build a building, build a road and put their name on it instead of do something for the people itself. That don't make sense. They want something to be there that they can look at every day. Oh, that was so-and-so did that building. I won't call no names, but that was so-and-so did that building. Oh, that's so-and-so track. Oh, that's so-and-so street. But what did he do for the people? Can the people live off of what he built? Can they use that to go further in life? No. There's nothing like that. Everything is all about money and ego. I did, I do. But nobody's really looking at the big picture of really helping, assisting. Yeah, because the only way we can help a nation is by assisting. Is a village. They say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes that same village to build a nation. Nothing else. Okay. So them ostracizing us, like I tell her, I have an analogy to the green and the blue iguana. The blue iguana used to flourish the whole of Cayman. The green iguana came here evasively. And look at it now. The blue iguanas are in a reservation, and now we're trying to kill out all the green iguanas. We don't want that to happen. Come on now. But that is what I see.
Yep.
That is what I see because, like I tell them, paper Caymanian, traditional Caymanian, wayward Caymanian, come by boat, whatever it is, Caymanian, you Caymanian. But the thing is for me now, we who have the history of the past, we need to practice that and show the newer ones. But we, the older ones, are really all passive. So I'm loving more the new generational Caymanians, the new paper Caymanians, the ones who come in here by plane and not by plane because they stand up because where they're coming from, they don't want to go back and they don't want to live like that. That's why they're here. And we who have this thing, this paradise and taking it for granted, we need to stand up and unite and realize what we have and try to keep our heritage unless we're going to lose it. Next 15 years, you got to look in a museum before and look in a book and down in the last chapter to see what a Caymanian was.
But do we need to be mindful then that we are, as you said, becoming more assertive, but as we move from that very passive, individual, that we don't bypass assertion and become aggressive?
Well, right now we are not ourselves, and but we as Caymanians, as far as time has carried us, we were never aggressive people.
Right.
We were thinkers and builders and ship navigators. That's us. We survived without nothing. We need to understand we don't need the world to survive. We can still survive. We don't have to accept everything the world throws at us and swallow it for us to survive. We could be our own self. Anybody coming to see Japan or China or America, they come to see the Cayman Islands of what they heard, of what they have seen. When they advertise in Cayman, they don't advertise someplace in Tokyo. They advertise the Cayman Islands, the beautiful beach, the beautiful people. But when you get here, you see something different because they'll show you a part of it. I've had people who come here as visitors, tourists, that have never been here before, and they did their tour, and after I go and pick them up and I carry them to the real life. They want to get something to eat, we go by Welly's or we go by, I don't want to big up no restaurants, but we go to the local restaurants. And we take a drive to where the real people live. non-West Bay Road. West Bay Road can't hold all the Cayman Islands. We came to the real places and they get a real feel and they have an understanding of what our society is about, not by what they're trying to force on them as a commercial product. Like I see all these products that are by the turtle farm, these little baby turtles, the eggs, this and that, the shirts. None of them are manufactured in Cayman. That's the worst part about it. You giving me, so what kind of authentic Cayman feel would I have to carry a souvenir back and say, oh, I got it from Cayman, but it says made in Taiwan? That don't make no sense. It's clear pottery. I know people, and I know a lot of artists here, but it's like there's no better life for them. I can call one that I know from way back in the day. Well, I got called him by his alias, you know, the Rubber Man, right? Okay, look at his artwork. Nobody's, like, look, anywhere else in the world this man was, we have to get an appointment to see him. Because he's that creative.
Right.
Look at his home. Yeah, but there's no recognition for the local like that. But we get somebody here come from foreign. Okay, what we do? Oh, wow, he's beautiful. Let's give him a plane to do. And that's what happened. You know what I'm talking about. And that's exact. I am hitting the direct points. This is what's happening.
Yeah, man. Sorry, so final, as we close out the show, what else you want to leave with us?
Well, I just want unity. That's all I want.
Unity.
Yeah. With everybody, not just Caymanians, but everybody who's here on this rock.
Come together, right?
Come together, everybody. That's all I want, unity.
What's the song, Come Together Right Now, in Unity? You know the song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing it. I hope as we...
I appreciate the ears.
Yeah, man, listen. You learn if you listen, you know. And
I always listen when I always listen and I learn.
There we go, man. There we go. Blessings to you, man. Blessings to you.
Blessings.
All right. You know, sometimes in life, you know, I look at the hand that is dealt and I wonder who holding the cards. And not only the dealer, but who are the other players at the table. The question sometimes we ask, is it that we make our own happiness or do we reject that which is offered freely? And do we, you know, and I speak, hopefully I will listen to my own counsel at times, but do we see what is before us and ignore the obvious? Are we prepared to sail a catboat alone, or do we extend the weatherboard and ask the fellow to come along for a ride? Never sure that I fully know, nor cognizant. But one thing is for sure, life is going to be, and it's going to continue until it isn't. Now, tomorrow's Friday. Join me starting in the morning for the record. Come back for Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. Share with you a good discussion initially about a few things that may sharpen the body, the mind, and the spirit. Let's take us through the rest of the day by listening to that wonderful music that Susan always plays. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village. Convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
Cayman, the voice,
the heart,
the soul of the